In this video, I'm going to cover the issues that I normally see with ELD handling from the managers and just want to go over certain things to make sure, number one, that the ELD is set up correctly, therefore it'll operate correctly, and number two, how to handle things that go wrong with the ELD. And this information will help you administer your ELD and your hours of service program a lot easier. And this is the number one issue that your driver has and is a big time waster. So buckle in and let's go over all this stuff. Mentioned this in another part of the course, and I'm going to mention again here to make sure that you put the correct carrier name in your ELD. I see this all the time where a new contractor comes to me and I look at the carrier name and it's the contract name and not the information that's listed here. So make sure that you go into administration. It'll say in the ELD, set up a new carrier. Make sure it says Federal Express Corporation, this DOT number of 86876, and that address. And that's it. Once you do that, you'll have the correct carrier name. If you do have your contract name in there, just delete it out. You don't need it. This is the only thing you need in your ELD as the correct carrier name. I highly encourage you to make sure that your operation is set up into terminals if you operate out of multiple locations. And even if you don't, I would still set up a terminal from where your drivers are domiciled. And it just makes it a lot easier as you grow that, oh, I bought some more routes over here. I got another terminal over there. It just helps with organizing it a lot better. And then you can run reports based on the locations that you're operating out of. And also in your ELD, you'll see that it'll ask under the driver profile to select the carrier that they're going to be operating under. And since you created the only carrier that I'm telling you to create, then from the drop down box, this should be the only one for your driver to be added to. In the driver profile, you're going to be able to add certain things to their profile. Always add the yard move for your drivers and make sure that you have that enabled for all drivers, because this is really going to help them when they're going from the terminal to another terminal to save a lot of their time and to make it a lot easier for them to operate. Personal conveyance is also on the driver profile in the ELDs that you are using. The issue with that is if it's a spot driver, they don't need PC. I can't think of not a single circumstance where PC would be allowed for a driver that is operating spots in line haul. Solo drivers, very rare situation that I could see where a driver could use PC. I do have one operation I can think of where the driver is going from terminal A to terminal B, doing a turn, coming from terminal B back to terminal A. And then when they're done for the night, they live an hour away from the terminal. They take an empty trailer from terminal A up to a Walmart, which is still, can't use PC for that. They were using PC and I told them, no, you can't do that anymore. And so they were running the tractor from terminal A up to the Walmart, but they could use PC from the Walmart because the driver was parking their tractor at their house. And normally in our operations, we don't do that. We're usually parked at the terminal, but that's the only incident where a solo driver that I know of even did that. So team drivers is where you would see PC as authorized, and we talked about that in this course, that PC can be used for personal moves of a commercial motor vehicle. They're going to Walmart, they're going to the grocery store, they're going to laundry, they're going to the casino, they're going to go watch movies, whatever. As long as it's a personal use, You shouldn't have any problems with that. There's going to be situations that the drivers need to do that, especially team drivers that pretty much live in their truck all the time. So be very cautious on, just blanket giving everybody PC, because it will generate reports to line haul, and line haul is going to send that report to the AO to say, what's going on with this PC usage, and we don't like it. So make sure that you really think about this when you get that added to your driver profile. This is another major issue I see with properly managing the ELD, and that is we don't get rid of old trucks and old drivers that have left. And I can see a new contractor come to us, and they have a total of 20 drivers active, but there's 120 drivers in the ELD. Stop doing that. Make sure that you are keeping your driver and your vehicle count current and up to date inside of the ELD. It'll make it so much easier for you to manage your ELD program if you have the correct number in there, and you're not, got old drivers in there that are clogging up uncertified logs or whatever the issue that they had. The way the ELD works is when you remove drivers and vehicles out of it, it doesn't really get rid of them, because we have drivers that leave and then they come back. So think about that when you're doing this, is go, okay, I may make them, inactive in the ELD and they're gone, but if they came back 2 weeks from now, you would just reactivate the same driver. You're not going to create a new driver profile. You're just going to reactivate the old driver profile, make any updates. But do keep your dashboard clean on the number of drivers and the number of vehicles that you are operating today. This is another common mistake that I see all the time, where we have a nickname for a driver, or we have a driver that gets remarried and their last name changes or whatever. The name in the ELD must match the CDL license. So some drivers have 4, 5, 6, 7 names on their CDL, and all of those names need to be in your ELD correctly. So the driver's name on their license and the ELD must match exactly. And you have to use the CDL number in the ELD. So when the DOT officer looks at the ELD on the roadside, they're matching that license. So they're actually looking at the license and going, okay, there's 5 names here, and then I got Bob in the ELD. That's not correct. That is a violation. I talked about this in another video. Use FedEx ID, FedEx ID. FedEx ID must be used per line haul as the main ID. You can't use any other type of information. That is how line haul tracks the driver, especially if the driver is driving for multiple contractors, or multiple different vehicles or whatever. That FedEx ID follows the driver throughout, from the ELD tablets as they log in. And then I said earlier is, don't make it difficult for you to manage your program. Don't put in the last 4 digits of the FedEx ID, or, the last 4 digits of their social security number or their mobile number. I've seen all of those. Just stop doing that. It makes it very difficult to manage, that you have to look up in a database on, what is the driver's cell number, so you can log in, or the driver can log in. It's not that critical. Just make it FedEx ID, and make it a lot easier on yourself. And this is another common problem, is I have contractors that don't understand the rule sets that are in the ELD and the type of driver that they are assigning to the ELD. So for your solo drivers, these are the drivers that are driving from Terminal A to Terminal B, doing a turn, coming back, usually overnight and all that, you're going to use the US 8-day property carrying rule set. That's it. Spot drivers, you're driving a tractor, you're moving trailers over to the Menards RDC, Home Depot RDC, you're dropping them at Target, you're dropping them at Walmart and all that. You're going to put them on the US 8-day property carrying, but you're going to add the CDL short haul exception. So your spot drivers, said this in another part of the course, they must use the ELD. There is no using paper logs and the 150 air mile and all that. They must use the ELD. What the CDL short haul exception does is it eliminates the need for the 8-hour break. So that makes it a lot easier to manage, and then those spot drivers are not going to get violations for the 8-hour because they're able to work in a 14-hour window. So this is how this works. The driver must start and stop at the same terminal. So if they're running out of 303 in Atlanta, they have to start their day there, they go run all their spots, and they come and end their day at the same terminal. You cannot use this from, all right, I started my day here, but I ended it over in Birmingham. It's not going to work. So just remember, if you're using that short haul exception, it's usually spot drivers in the same community, starting and stopping at the same terminal. Then on your teams, you just need to make sure in your ELD device that you're picking the US 8-day property carrying, but with the sleeper berth. So in Trimble, you need to pick this one because that's the only way it's going to know, oh, there's going to be the sleeper berth, and using the split sleeper berth. And that's a very good advantage on team drivers to understand how the split sleeper berth works. And so you want to make sure you do that. In OmniTrax, you just want to have the will pair with sleeper berth, and that way the ELD tablet will know, oh, okay, so if there's 2 hours here and then there's, the other hours here, then it will pair those two sets and make sure that there's not a violation there. So just make sure that you pick the right rule set for the type of driver that we see in line haul. Keep your ELD dashboard clean. You don't want a bunch of numbers on here. I'm going to go through each of these, but just keep it clear every day. Log in daily. Make sure that your BCs know how to log into the ELD. Make sure the AO knows how to log into the ELD. If you have safety people or whoever, make sure that you have multiple people that can log into the ELD and check on this and keep it clear every day. I mentioned this in another video that uncertified logs can slow tablets down, and that's true. You want to make sure that your drivers are doing their certification of their logs every day. You're always going to have some uncertified logs. You got drivers that are out on their 34-hour reset or vacation, or they took some time off for work comp or vacation, whatever. And you're just going to have some uncertified logs. The way I look at it is a driver that has more than 5 days of uncertified logs and they've been working, you got to start asking yourself what's going on here, and is the driver just getting lazy about it or whatever. Just stay on them and make sure that you teach them how to certify their logs properly. It's not hard. It's on the tablets when the driver comes, logs in. Usually it's the first pop-up that states, hey, you have logs that you need to certify. You don't want the driver that's hitting, reject or ignore or whatever. You want them to go ahead and deal with that so that the tablet stays clean and up to date on that. We get a lot of violations on this on the side of the road where the driver just says, I'm not certifying the logs, or, I'm exempt from this. I'm not doing this or whatever. That's a real problem. So make sure that you stay on top of them. Usually what I find is once the drivers, have a discussion and they understand it, it's easy. Pop up, certify log, did it, make it. and there's not a problem anymore. So just be thinking about that as you are training your drivers. Unidentified driving time, UDEs. This is something that I rarely see a contractor deal with. You just don't have time, or you don't deal with it, or whatever, and you need to. Linehaul is cracking down on this, and the reason for this is the unidentified driving events are causing the missing log issue. So if you're the AO and you're getting an email from Linehaul that says, hey, you got all these missing logs, it's because of the unidentified driving events, or you don't have an ELD in the truck, or whatever, it's not working. That's what's causing those emails. If you want those emails to stop, then you need to clear out the unidentified driving events every single day. So what's my mindset on UDEs? My mindset is, if I see a tractor that has 2, 3, 400 miles on it in a day, that's telling me that the driver's not using the ELD, which is bad. That's not allowed in our operation. So the first thing you're trying to figure out is what's going on with that. Is the driver just saying, hey, I can't log in? If they did they call you? Did they not call you? Did they let you know there was a problem? Did they just go, the ELD is, silly, I'm not using it, and I'm just going to drive without the ELD. So you need to sort of figure that out first is, all right, do we have a driver that's just not using the ELD? It is normal for a ELD to throw unidentified driving events. So what's going on in our operations is we build terminals on inexpensive land. This inexpensive land doesn't necessarily have cell towers near it. Remember, the ELD is a cellular device. If it cannot get a signal, it's going to throw these unidentified driving events, and you'll see it'll be 0.1, 0.2. The driver's going from one side of the terminal to the other side of the terminal and things like that. The good thing is that's about 70 to 80% of the unidentified driving events any given day is those little bitty micro moves that we don't have good cell signal. So the great thing in that is you can choose all those events for the day, bulk select them, and then you can put in won't assign and just remove them. And then that way it will clear out your unidentified driving every single day. So it's great on that. Linehaul is comfortable with you doing that on all moves of 5 miles or less. So anything more than that, got to start thinking about, okay, why is this going on with the driver? I see this a lot also when a contractor is going, I'm going to take the tractor to the shop. Don't log into the ELD, trying to save my driver's time, and they drive, 10 miles over to the shop. You got to use it. Consider using like a mechanic's login if the mechanic's going to come get it or something like that. But you don't want to have these unidentified driving events on taking it to the shop or the truck wash, or I'm going to go do a spot real quick, or whatever. You don't want to do that. It's going to cause those missing log reports. So this is a tough one because there can be a lot of events. It can take a lot of your time. The best thing I can tell you to do is make sure that you are keeping up to date with this every single day, and then you won't have any problems. ELD conflicts. So this is really just aggravating to the driver, because what happens to them is they get a pop-up, or they get a warning on their ELD that there's a conflict. Almost every conflict I've ever seen in an ELD device is the cellular device that it is doesn't have a good, accurate reading of the odometer reading. And usually, so the conflict will say missing odometer reading. It's aggravating, but the easiest way to clear that is to go to the log, figure out where the conflict is on the log, look at the last odometer reading, and let's say the odometer reading was mile 100. It's a brand new truck, 100, and the truck went 2 miles. Then on the missing odometer, you're just going to fill in 102 miles and put in that missing odometer. Once you do that, the conflict will clear. Generally, when you have an ELD tablet that is doing this frequently all the time, you got an ELD problem. You either got an old tablet that needs to be reset. I would just reset the entire software on that, or you have a bad cable and it needs to be replaced. So if you keep seeing the conflict, the driver keeps having the problems, just know that you may have to redo the software or replace the tablet or replace the cable so it'll stop doing that and it'll make your operation operate a lot more smoothly. Make sure that you learn common issues that go on with the ELD. The top two here, the driver can't log in, is because they've done something or they're a new driver or something. They just can't figure out that it should be FedEx ID, log in, and make sure that they can get into the tablet. I think the most frequent call that we get from drivers is, I don't have any hours. And you got to remember about our operation. A lot of the drivers drive overnight and they leave at 7 or 8 o'clock at night. They drive all night. They get back in at 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. They're tired. I get it. They're tired and they just forget to log out. And what happens is it leaves them on the on duty line. So when they come back on their next shift, they go, oh no, I have no hours. Then they're going to call you and all that. So there's a couple of strategies on this. Is you can run an availability report from the ELD every day and see who has or does not have hours. That's a good methodology, to have that and have that in your back pocket, so to speak, as you're doing your dispatch and you're planning your day. You can get ahead of that, or just know how to log into the ELD, change them from on duty to off duty, have them accept the changes, and then get them on their way. So making sure you're doing that. I see on a pretty regular basis a tablet where the driver will be stuck on the drive line. That's a tablet problem. First thing you should do is just reset the tablet. You can send from Trimble, you can send a signal from the dashboard to the tablet to make it reset. That's one thing. And then on OmniTrax, the secret is there's a little rubber thing on the side of the ELD. There, underneath that rubber cover is a reset button. Hold it for 15 seconds. Resetting the tablet fixes almost all problems. It really does. So teach your drivers how to reset the tablet, and that will probably solve almost all of your problems. But if it is a tablet that is stuck, and I mean it's stuck, you've reset the tablet, it's still on the drive line and all that, it's going to require a software reinstall on that tablet to, basically kill whatever possession that tablet has to fix it. So just make sure that happens and, get it done on that.